Well, the month of July is recognized as National Savings Month, but there continues to be concern around the country's low savings rate. Many continue to suffer, partly because of the financial distress brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, add to this both inflation and interest rates that are rising, increasing the cost of basics such as food, transport, housing, and debt. So just how are South Africans faring in these tough economic times? Well, Naledi Totana is a compliance officer at National Debt Advisors, and she joins us to have this discussion. Great to have you on the show, Naledi. Thanks so much for joining us, I think from Cape Town.
Thanks for having me, Leanne.
It's an absolute pleasure. I mean, I talk about July as National Savings Month, and everybody rolls their eyes because it's like, really? Savings? What do you want me to save? Where you come to like the 5th of the month, and by that time, there's nothing in the bank account. How are South Africans making ends meet during these tough economic times?
Sorry, I can't hear you. Please come again.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Let's just try and I'll simplify the question and say, how are South Africans making ends meet during these tough economic times?
Well, Leanne, it's been tough for everyone. Everybody have been living paycheck to paycheck. Recent reports released noted that slightly close to the onset of COVID, it was noted that a report released specifically, I'm going to make specific reference to a report that was released by FNB. It noted that at least 80% of South Africans had close to nothing when it came to the end of the month or even within the month. Also, another report released by the South African Saving Institute noted that most middle-income earners in South Africa, most income earners in South Africa had at least close to nothing. So it's been really tough times for everyone currently in South Africa.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, when we talk about saving, that is, one thing that I'm not sure that many South Africans are doing at this point. I mean, is there a way of getting a percentage of the population that are actually saving at this point in time? I mean, when we look at for retirement issues, I've seen studies and stats saying that only 6% of the entire population ever retire and have enough to live a comfortable life after that. That's 6%. So if we have to look at the percentage of people that are saving right now, what are we looking at?
So funny enough that you say so, Leanne. Recently, an online survey was conducted by the Business Tech, which noted that around about 15% of South Africans noted to have savings, whereas 35% noted to not have savings at all. So it's a conundrum on its own.
Yeah, and it certainly is, because, I mean, when we look at the basics, I mean, just going and filling up your car, you can't drive away without spending at least, I'm going to lower the amount of litres, but between 1,000 and 2,000 rand to fill up your car. Then you go into a grocery store, and to just get the basics, I mean, your trolley is sitting at, who knows, again, a couple of thousand rands to get the basics. And that's not even, talking about fancy foods or anything. This is just to get by. Then you've got to pay off all of the debt and the troubles that we've been going through, where we saw the pandemic stop many people from working and losing their jobs. People are in a very, very difficult position. So what are your advice? What advice do you give to people that are in debt and trying to pay off that debt when they honestly just can't afford to get through the month?
Honestly, Leanne, the schools for budgeting and saving predominantly. Consumers need to start looking at budgeting hacks such as, for example, a familiar principle that I'm familiar with is the 50 to 20 versus 30. So this speaks to allocating 50% towards your needs, such as rent, grocery, shelter, and 20% towards things like entertainment, and 30% towards things such as savings. Because saving is essential at this point. Not only is it obviously essential, it also creates a disciplined dynamic, which is essential to impulsive overspenders at this current time. in our economy.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, one of the, I suppose, the best advice that we can give people is the earlier that you start to save, the better it is. I know it's a hard thing because when you're young, you think that you are invincible and that you're going to live forever and you want to enjoy every cent that you earn and you don't want to put anything away. But if you are fortunate to have a job and you do earn that income, I mean, I know that's the advice that many people give. Save early. From that first paycheck, start saving.
Yeah. Or perhaps contact your banker, speak to your banker. If you're not that disciplined, I mean, you need to start somewhere. Contact your banker, ask your banker to run a debit order to at least maybe take 30% of your salary and have it in a savings, leaving you with 50% or the other 20%, whereby you can allocate that towards grocery and other needs, as you need to start somewhere as an individual.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. I'm just looking at a little graph, and the Business Tech had put this graph together, and they're saying if you start saving in your 20s per month, in order to have something like 6 million rand to have when you retire, and to be real, it's not unfortunately unrealistic when we talk about inflation. In your 20s, 1,700 rand a month is what you should save to have 6 million when you retire. When you're 30s, you need to save 4,000 rand a month if you haven't already started saving. In your 40s, you need to start saving 10,000 rand a month. And by your 50s, if you haven't started saving yet, you have to put at least 82,000 rand aside every month in order to keep your life at the way you want to. I mean, these are numbers I'm looking at. This, I'm dying here, thinking, what? But this is real.
It is. So like you said, it's better to rather start early. And then have at least a savings in place as opposed to start later on, because let alone, like you said, inflation, also the relationship between interest and inflation puts you in a dire state, in a sense of anything that you're going to save now in the next year might not be as much. So we really need to be clever about our saving methods and how we necessarily apply saving.
So, Naledi, I'll let you go. Just my final question to you is, when we talk about South Africans in debt, how bad is it? How in debt are South Africans?
Well, it's dire, honestly. A report released by the South African Savings Institute noted that the household debt equates at least to 72% of most South Africans, and that basically means that every rand, or rather 3/4, goes towards debt.
So that's debt, not savings. Yeah. People are paying debt. That's where the money's going, not into savings. Got to leave it. Have to wrap it there. Thank you for talking to us, Naledi. Naledi Totana is from National Debt Advisors, just talking to us about Savings Month and how, in this day and age, how impossible it is to be saving and how low the savings rate is among South Africans. Quick break. We've got to say goodbye to you after this. Stay tuned.